Hey guys, welcome to my new movie spotlight review of the film Dragon, starring Donnie Yen and Takeshi Kaneshiro. I don't have a lot of films, foreign films in my collection, but every once in a while, I happen to add one here and there, and sometimes, they end up being, pretty good gems for my collection, and this one pretty much kind of falls in that category too. Basically, the stories takes place in a village in China during the early 1800s, and Donnie Yen stars as a character with a pretty mysterious past. And the film kind of opens up with Donnie Yen's character getting into a bit of a conflict with these two killers, and he pretty much kind of like subdues the killers. And what's interesting about this particular fight sequence that Donnie Yen's character is involved in is that the fact that the way it was done is that you see his character pretty much fight these guys, but in a rather clumsy manner, kind of like he doesn't have any type of martial arts skills, but he managed to subdue and apprehend and at the same time kill the two assailants that were attacking him. And then Takeshi Kaneshiro's character comes in as an investigator, and he's trying to figure out basically how these two killers were actually killed by this guy that supposedly has no particular type of martial arts skill. And he goes in there, does his investigation, and slowly begins to learn that through clues that were left around the crime scene, that the fight wasn't actually as it seemed, and through not flashbacks, but through recaps through Takeshi Kaneshiro's character, we find out that Donnie Yen's character actually, while seeming to be fighting in a rather clumsy manner, was actually using a lot of skill to actually avoid getting hurt, but at the same time inflicting a lot of damage until he ultimately actually kills the two killers that were attacking him. So this further leads Takeshi Kaneshiro's character to investigate further into the past of Donnie Yen's character, and he kind of begins to make connections that Donnie Yen's character actually comes from a clan of very powerful warriors, but that are in fact actually are a gang of killers. So Donnie Yen's character basically is someone that was trying to run away from this clan. He ends up at this village, and he's trying to kind of like hide his past by seeming to be this very happy-go-lucky type of person that tries to avoid conflicts whatsoever, but yet the beginning of the film shows that he's getting into this conflict, and even though it shows that he was fighting rather clumsily, it's revealed that later on he was actually fighting with a lot of skill. So basically the film basically just goes further into that, with Takeshi Kaneshiro's character trying to figure out the background of Donnie Yen's character until he actually figures out who he really is. And the story kind of just takes off from there, with the gangs trying to find Donnie Yen's character and trying to bring him back into the clan, but of course he doesn't want to, so there's a lot of conflicts in there with him trying to avoid the authorities, avoid the clan, but still trying to remain loyal to this village and trying to just protect people and just try to avoid all the dangers that are kind of beginning to surface and pretty much find him in where he's actually staying within that village. So that's pretty much like just a very brief gist of the plot of the film. I don't want to give away anything if you haven't seen it, so you guys can check it out. But the one thing that I have to say about this film that I really enjoyed was the fact that it kind of borrows on a lot of other aspects from other films that I've come to like. And one of the things that I kind of liked about this film, with Donnie Yen having a mysterious past, right, is it kind of reminds me of the Japanese anime Rurouni Kenshin, because basically, if for those of you that aren't aware with the Rurouni Kenshin storyline, is that Kenshin basically was an assassin during his earlier life, and then once he left that, he tried to live a normal life, but of course trouble always comes after him anyway. So in this film, it's almost the same thing. Donnie Yen's character, his mysterious past basically is that he was an assassin before. And of course, he's just trying to run away from that and trying to establish himself with a new identity and try to live a normal life. But of course, that trouble from his past comes back to find him. So that's one of the things that I actually enjoyed about this film, is that it has those similarities between, this and that anime Rurouni Kenshin. So, and the other aspect that I also enjoyed was Takeshi Kaneshiro's character, is that the way he goes about investigating how the actual altercation between Donnie Yen and the two killers at the beginning of the film happened, is that he goes about it from a very Sherlock Holmes sort of way. I mean, he literally looks at things and analyzes everything, and he begins to piece things together. And in his mind, he's visualizing how the actual altercation happened based on, you know, footprints that are left all over the store, you know, the way a particular hatchet was left on a carving board, you know, all these little things. And he keeps finding all these little clues, and in his mind he's tracing the entire events step by step, and he's visualizing in his mind how everything actually did happen. That's how he kind of deduces that basically Donnie Yen's character isn't who he seems to be, and that he actually has a lot of skill based on what he was able to deduce from the clues all over the place. So I really enjoyed that aspect. That it was borrowing a little bit off of, you know, Sherlock Holmes, you know, in terms of Takeshi Kanashiro's character having this kind of investigative background, because he plays a cop here. And again, the similarities to Rurouni Kenshin with Donnie Yen's character. And I really enjoyed those two elements that were kind of incorporated into this film. And I'm not saying that the writers and directors were actually borrowing off of Rurouni Kenshin or Sherlock Holmes. You know, I'm not saying that they were doing that, but again, just by watching it and just again having a background from watching those other films or TV series, and I kind of made those connections that it kind of made me enjoy this movie a lot more. And again, I pretty much have to say that I really enjoyed this movie a lot for having those two elements and just seeing something different from Donnie Yen, as a matter of fact. Because for those of you that, you know, have followed Donnie Yen's, you know, career, a lot of the roles that he always, you know, played were a lot of these tough, you know, and, you know, fight first, ask questions later. Like, just goes in there, and he's always very powerful and a very dominant fighter who always pretty much does well against other opponents, always beats everybody else with, you know, not that much trouble, you know. So it was different to see him here playing a character where he was kind of very, very shy to get into confrontations, and it looked like he didn't know what he was doing, getting beat up, but in fact, you know, through some clumsy way, kind of coming out on top in the battle. But when you see the rest of the film and you see Takeshi Kanashiro's perspective and how he's pretty much connecting the dots, you see that basically, you know, Donnie Yen is still kind of playing this character that's very pro-fight and knows how to be able to handle himself. You know, like what he is known for in his other films. So, but regardless of that, it was still, you know, a different type of role for Donnie Yen to do that, and I kind of like that you know, he decided to do something a little different with this rather than what he's normally known for doing in his films. And at the same time, just because that, you know, the character that Donnie Yen plays has this very dark, mysterious background, to see him play, you know, a fine line between being a good character and at the same time, you know, some of the bad aspects of the character kind of surfacing in there as well. So he's juggling between being a protagonist, somewhat of an antagonist as well. So it was actually good to see that dynamic, because I don't think I've ever seen too many movies where Donnie Yen was actually the villain in a film. Maybe there was one from early in his career, but to actually see him do something like that where he's kind of like just trying to tread the line between good and evil in here was actually pretty good, because there's some parts where basically, you know, Donnie Yen basically looks like he's like this creepy, you know, psychotic character in there, you know, and some of those parts really did come up as being a little creepy and kind of like maybe jump here and there a little bit, you know. But overall, it was just great just seeing him play those two opposing roles that way, you know, because they just made up his character and how he deals with, you know, both sides, you know. But other than that, again, I really enjoyed Dragon. I definitely recommend it for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. So definitely check out, you know, Donnie Yen here in Dragon. And that's pretty much it. You know, I just wanted to give you guys a quick review and a look into this film so you can see my thoughts. And I guess until the next time, of course, like my video if you like what I had to say about this film. Subscribe to my channel so you guys can see any, you know, more of my movie spotlight reviews, and definitely check out my movie collections update videos, which I should be posting up another one in another week and a half or so. So definitely look out for that, and I guess I'll see you guys later. All right.